Hey everyone, the 2024 Sinquefield Cup just finished a few days ago, and we have a very convincing win who is Alireza Firouzja, who won the event undefeated with 6 points out of 9. The Sinquefield Cup is one of the strongest tournaments of the year. It was named after Rugby Sinquefield, and we have some of the top players playing in this event. So in this video I want to focus on some of the critical moments on the games that Alireza won. So let's start with the first one. This is probably the most important game of the tournament because he defeated the runner-up Fabiano Caruana. And in this position, which is quite crazy, even though black is a pawn up, black's king might fall under attack. There's the idea to invade with queen to g7, putting pressure on black's position. And here Alireza could play something like queen to f8, preventing this idea. But instead, he wanted to go for a fight. And even though this move might not be the best objectively, this really shows his fighting spirit. He went queen to d7, allowing Caruana to invade with queen to g7, and we're basically going to get a very crazy position. But the main idea is that the king is going to take a walk and go towards the queen side. There's also some ideas to sacrifice the exchange on d5 in some lines. So first of all, here Alireza went king to d8. Caruana played a very logical move. He captured this pawn on f7. There was an alternative to take on b4, which for a human is very hard because this would create two strong pass pawns, and then go king to h2, breaking the pin that's on the rook on f5. That's another idea of the move queen to d7. But Caruana played a very natural move, taking the pawn on f7, trying to attack the king, and after king to c7, queen to g8, now Alireza took this pawn on f2, since the rook on f5 is pinned. And here Caruana played another logical move, probably not the best, which was very tempting to go queen to a8, trying to get play against the king. But here Alireza captured the bishop. On f7, there's pressure on c4, that's why Caruana traded on b4, and after c takes b4 and rook takes, Caruana got the piece back, but black is slowly consolidating. His main problem is the king. If he can consolidate, he's gonna be a healthy pawn up. And after queen to d7, giving a check, king to h2 and king to b6, white is going to run out of checks after queen to b8, king to a6, queen to a8, queen to a7, queen to c8, queen to b7, queen to c4, and king to a7. So the king is going to be safe here. Black has an extra pawn, which is a very important pass pawn, so Alireza managed to convert this advantage. In his next win on the 5th round against Anish Giri, we see another important skill that helped Alireza win the tournament, which is his very strong positional understanding. So let's try to understand this position. We have equal material, but black's pawns, they look quite bad. Black has a lot of isolated pawns, but on the other hand, it is not that easy to convert the advantage. First of all, white's pawns on the queen side cannot move easily, and even though there's pressure on e5, black might get some counterplay if white takes on e5. After bishop to c7, black is attacking the queen, and then there's going to be pressure on e4. Even though white can win a pawn here, for example after taking on c5, then after knight takes e4, it is quite hard to convert this pawn because again, the pawns on the queen side are difficult to move. That's why here Alireza played the very nice move b4, and here Giri took en passant. If black takes on b4, then after a takes b4, these pawns are going to be very strong, and this pawn on a4 might be attacked easily after a move like rook to a1. So here after taking en passant and queen takes, we see a change in the pawn structure. Now white has this pawn a3, which is a pass pawn, and it really feels like white is playing with an extra pawn, because white has a pawn on c4 stopping these two pawns on the c file. So here Giri continued with bishop to c7. There's another tactical point that after taking on e4 and queen to b1, there's going to be pressure against the king. So after the knight moves, white has many discovered checks. Even taking on h6 is very strong, or going knight to e7, giving a check, and after a move like e4, take on c6, black's position is falling apart. We attack the queen, and there's also pressure against the bishop, and after queen to a6, knight to b8 is forking the queen and the rook. So here Alireza is combining a very strong position understanding with very concrete moves. And in the game, Giri tried bishop to c7, and in this position, white could even play a4, starting to push the pass pawn. But from a general point of view, white has a clear positional advantage. And here Alireza went g3, planning to go king to g2. He didn't rush, but he managed to convert his advantage quite comfortably. And before I move to the last position, if you want to seriously get better at chess, you might want to check my free course in the description. And the third game that Alireza won in this tournament, he drew the other 6, was on the 7th rank against current world champion Ding Ren. This is probably the most instructive position, because here we have these positions where we have a lot of pieces on the board, actually no pieces were traded, and there's no clear plan in mind. And here Alireza played a very instructive move. He decided to improve his worst piece, so when you have no idea about what to do in a position, don't play random moves like trading pawns, just try to improve your worst piece. So here he went knight to f1, this knight on h2 is not doing a lot, that's why he's going to go knight to f1, trying to improve the knight via e3 and maybe knight to f5 later on. And this is a very instructive position because here black could have done the same. For example, this knight on g7 is not great, he could have brought the knight from g7 to e6, but instead Ding played a somewhat strange move. So now the pressure to make a move in this position is on Ding's side. It is also a bit hard to find a plan for black, that's why improving the knight on g7 was an idea, but instead he went backwards with the knight on f4, he went knight f to e6. Now Alireza went knight to e3, and amazingly in this position Ding simply collapsed. He took on d4, which is pretty much a decisive mistake. It was even not too late to go back to f4 because white doesn't have a very clear idea besides going knight to f5, which is not going to be a decisive move, just improving the knight. So going knight to f4 was an alternative, or even waiting with a move like king to h8. Instead he took on d4, which doesn't make a lot of sense. After Alireza took back on d4, now white has 2 pawns against 1 on the center, and there's also pressure on a5, and here Ding went d5, just leaving the pawn on a5 undefended. But in any case, after a move like bishop to b6, now white has all the ideas in the position. For example, d5, attacking the knight is an idea, knight to c4 will put more pressure on black's position, so this is already a great position for white. And after d5, Alireza just played very simple moves and got a decisive advantage after taking on d5 and then trading on g6. Now Alireza got this free pawn, attacking the bishop, and after bishop to b8, he traded on b8, and after rook takes, queen takes d5, white has 2 extra pawns and black has nothing in return. So this was a very nice tournament for Alireza where he played some very instructive chess. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.